DogWorks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
Here's to the adventure-seeking dog mushers out there. The hundreds of you who stand on the runners dreaming and thinking about the Northern Lights. Of course, there is something else you can do if you've got something to say. Start a podcast with First Paw Media and harness your creative side. Maybe even earn enough money. Enough money to tell yourself, hey, I'm not just a dog musher, I'm a rover. I'm a wanderer. I'm a voyager. I'm an explorer. Visit firstpaw.media. Mush on over today.
You can support this podcast on patreon.com/firstpawmedia.
Hey guys, Michelle here. It is getting to be a busy summer dog training season here in Alaska. The sun is finally shining and a lot of people are out and about with their dogs. As professional dog trainers, we are always answering questions from our clients, and sometimes we use the terms counter conditioning, desensitization, and classical conditioning. But do you know what those terms even mean? Well, today we're going to dive deep into them and give you some tips and tricks that will help you on your dog training journey. But before we get started, would you guys like a freebie? We are offering our very own 100 dog training tips. Just go to ak.dog/100 tips and get yours today. And after the episode, ask yourself, what new ideas has this conversation sparked for you? Then share this episode with a family member or friends and discuss it together. As always, message me over on Instagram at FirstPawMedia. Just remember, dog training is a big commitment and accountability is a huge part. You can do it. I believe in you. But before we dive into this episode, can I ask a favor? If you have been listening to DogWorks Radio for a while now, say 3 or more episodes, and you like what you hear, would you consider leaving us a 5-star review? Something simple, 2 or 3 sentences max, is perfect for telling the world about what you like about this podcast and what you have learned, and why you are a rabid listener. This helps us tremendously. Just scroll down in your favorite podcast player and click the leave a review button. Super simple, and thanks so much for tapping that subscribe button. Let's see where people are tuning in. Our most popular cities this week are San Juan, Puerto Rico, Cadillac, Michigan, and Moline, Illinois. And hey, did you know that we have a page on our website that lists where we will be on the road and how we can meet up and grab a beer, coffee, or better yet, an ice cream? Check that out. And oh, hello to our listeners in Estonia, too. We are happy you are all tuning in. Did you guys need more content? I bet you do. What we have a behind the scenes after show on our Patreon account. Just head on over and join today and you can get all kinds of cool perks, including exclusive access to the after show. All right, it's time to dive in. Are you ready?
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dog Works Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is DogWorks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert and Michelle Forto.
So what is counter conditioning and desensitization? Through the thoughtful use of counter conditioning, you can help your fearful pet build new confidence. Whether your goal is to help your dog overcome the scariness of vacuums, or you want your cat to feel better about the loud sounds that accompany most holiday activities, counter conditioning combined with desensitization and positive reinforcement goes a long way in helping your pet to build confidence and feel better about the human world. So let's dive a little deeper and give you guys a definition for what is classical conditioning. Whenever you see the word conditioning, think learning. Our animals learn by association and through interaction with their environment. Classical conditioning or respondent conditioning, simply put, happens when two things are repeatedly paired together to create a new response or behavior or association. The learner, in this case your pet, learns to associate one thing with the other. One of those things already has meaning and natural value, like food, and the other is totally neutral. Classical conditioning occurs naturally or involuntarily. For example, when your dog learns that the sound of your keys jingling means they might go for a ride, or that the sound of the refrigerator opening might mean an opportunity for a quick snack, building an association between a marker and a reinforcer, like the sound of a clicker and the delivery of treats, reinforcers, is a really common and very helpful example of how we can use classical conditioning to teach your dog all sorts of things. But what is counter conditioning and desensitization? Counter conditioning, on the other hand, is the process of replacing a feeling and response behavior that was learned through conditioning. We can help our dogs to have a new emotional response to something that caused them to feel stressed or scared previously, but we need to be able to recognize when our dogs are feeling fear or experiencing stress or anxiety so that we can identify what we can change and how. Recognizing the subtle signs of a dog that is stressed and when and why is critical to being able to use counter conditioning and desensitization effectively. Say your dog is afraid of new dogs. They see them on the walks around the neighborhood. If we want to teach them to feel better about other dogs, every time they see another dog on a walk, you would give them their absolute favorite reinforcer. Food, like treats, is often the best reinforcer for this because it is easy to give and our dogs want it in lots of contexts. If they eat the food and it tastes good and makes them feel better, and you do this every time they see other dogs, eventually your dog will learn that seeing other dogs during walks, along with repeated pairings of favorite reinforcers and new dogs, your dog will begin to have a different emotional response to the sight of new dogs. Now, new dogs make your dog feel happy and excited instead of scared. Of course, this really only applies to other dogs on walks and seeing them. Being near them and interacting with them is a whole new ballgame. If your dog is also scared of new dogs in other contexts, like say at the dog park or in puppy class, you will need to apply these same practices in those situations too. And sometimes the most practical choice is to just use good management. If your dog is afraid of strange dogs, then instead of walking past lots of dogs at the park, we take a new route home and avoid the park altogether. Counter conditioning is used alongside desensitization, and you will often see animal professionals refer to them as CC and DS. Zazie Todd, PhD of companion animal psychology, says desensitization means very gradual exposure to the scary thing, starting at a very low level and building up very slowly. It should be systematic, which means you have a plan to build up gradually, and every step of the way, your dog should be happy and comfortable. Systematic desensitization requires a lot of thoughtful planning and preparation. Think of it like baby steps, working at the level your pet is always capable of and enabling them to make choices that keep them calm along the way. Your goal is that your pet experiences tiny bits of the scary thing in a safe environment while they still feel emotionally secure, and then gradually work their way up to more exposure. Go too far or too fast, and you wind up flooding your pet, which is extremely uncomfortable, scary, and only makes matters much worse. The 4th of July and New Year's Eve holidays present a big opportunity to use desensitization. Suppose your dog is afraid of fireworks. You find a recording of fireworks sounds. You can't start by playing the sounds at anywhere near normal volume because you already know that frightens your dog. Instead, you start at a really low volume, maybe even barely audible. Then gradually over time, always making sure your dog is comfortable, you keep turning up the volume a notch, then another notch, and so on. Over time, assuming you get it right, your dog will learn to tolerate the sounds, Todd says. Here's 3 tips on using counter conditioning and desensitization with your dog. 1. Timing is everything. In the example of a dog that is scared of seeing other dogs on walks, if you deliver the awesome treat too late and your dog is now feeling scared at the sight of the strange dog, the treat may not be enough to help them. If you are too early in giving the treat and you give it before your dog even sees the other dog, then the treat doesn't get associated with the presence of the other dog. Number 2. Choosing the right reinforcer is crucial for success. For instance, you won't change how your dog feels about other dogs if you give them just regular old kibble pieces right after they have eaten dinner. In that scenario, the kibble is probably pretty boring in comparison to getting upset over other dogs. Plus, your dog's belly might already be full. You need to be flexible and willing to choose the right treats or thing that is most reinforcing to your individual dog. Foods like cheese, pieces of lunch meat, hot dog bits, and even liver or tripe can be great options for dogs, but you might find your dog also wants space or distance between them and the scary thing too. Tip number 3. You have to be consistent. To change how your dog feels about scary things, you must give those amazing reinforcers every single time the scary thing occurs. You can't just do it randomly and expect them to feel differently in a day or two. It takes time. It's for these reasons that if you have a dog who is experiencing some serious behavioral concerns, you work with a certified professional animal trainer, certified animal behavioral consultant, or veterinarian behaviorist that can assist you throughout the process, ensuring success. Whether you're hoping to help your scared dog feel more confident or you want your cat to grow into a happy, stress-free feline, counter conditioning and desensitization are powerful learning tools. Combined with positive reinforcement, you can help your pet to grow and learn happily alongside you. So what do you guys think? Did you learn anything new about your canine buddy? Maybe even your feline buddy in this episode? Before we end the show, let's press pause for a sec. Maybe ask yourself, why did this resonate with me? What aspect of my relationship with my canine buddy could I apply this to? And what am I going to do differently this week to make my dog's training a little easier? So take time to mull it over, talk it out with a family member or trusted friend, put some ideas down in your training journal, and then check back next week for our next episode. And as always, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this episode. So reach out over on Twitter at First Paw Media and let's spark a conversation. Until then, keep going. You are doing great. It is time to create the relationship with your dog that you always dreamed of. Thanks for listening to DogWorks Radio. You can find the show notes for this episode and all others at alaskadogworks.com. And if you know someone in your life who needs help with their dog's training, be a hero and share our podcast with them, and we will see you next time.
From First Paw Media, this is DogWorks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michelle Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.